We continue our conversation on Canada's roster reveal for the 2026 World Cup, and we're going to go live now to Charlotte, where KJ is on location, powered by General Mills. We saw your interview there with Jesse Marsh, but curious to get your take on the roster and if there were any surprises for you.
Yeah, it's been a really emotional day here, being around the hotel and talking to certain players. And, ultimately, I think it's a great day, not only for Canadian sport, but for Canadian soccer as well. Just a monumental day to see that these players get picked for a home World Cup, let alone for a World Cup, which is the pinnacle for anybody in their career. So just a special moment for a lot of these players around here. And I think that also is the development of the sport in this country, that we're having these discussions about, who's going to make 25th, 26th man on the squad, and maybe 3 or 4 players quite didn't make it. I think that just goes to show the strength of this entire organization and the sport in this country. So as for some surprises, I think we start with Daniel Jefferson. I think someone like that, who obviously played very well in the March window. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago on match night. I thought it gave Jesse Marsh a lot of positives from there. And when I spoke to Jesse about that today, he alluded to the fact that Promise David's recovery and became a little bit quicker more was probably at a cost of Daniel Jefferson. And I think that Jefferson was obviously somebody that we expected to get picked. But when you think about it, when you're putting together the roster, if you're someone like Jesse Marsh, you're thinking that Jonathan David's likely not going to come off the field very often at all. And then you've got someone like Kyle Larin in great form, Taniolo O'Shea, and then still another one there in Promise David. So I think that's an area where probably that just cost Jefferson at that moment. And then someone like Ralph Priso, who obviously has missed the last 2 months from that significant hamstring injury, and I think just ran out of room. Jesse Marsh is somebody that is very loyal to his players, and when you've been in the system for a long time, someone like Joel Waterman, for example, has played over 700 minutes for Jesse Marsh now, and Ralph Priso just 30. So I think that was probably a little bit too soon for someone like Ralph as well. So in the end, no surprises for me. And we'll get to some of the injuries shortly, and Jacob Schaffelberg, but I think those 2 players were very close to making it.
Well, let's get to those injuries, because you're right. I mean, this is a wonderful day. It's monumental. It's so inspiring to see a lot of these players and just what it means to them to be named. But at the end of the day, there is a dark cloud, because a lot of these players who have been named are also dealing with injuries. Some of them we won't even see, KJ, in the couple friendlies that are coming up in the month of June. And Jesse Marsh has made it perfectly clear as well that he has to assess also where their fitness is. We've already talked on our show that they have 24 hours before their first game, June 12th, to even make changes. So this is great with the 26. I hope they can all stay healthy, but maybe there can still be some changes, right? When it comes to the injuries here that are that dark cloud, what does that mean for Canada with that first game being on June 12th?
Well, that's significant. You alluded to it being a dark cloud. Let's hope it doesn't turn into being a thunderstorm, because maybe the clouds are being pushed away because people are trending in the right direction. But for those unaware about that rule, what that means is it actually benefits you to name players who may be injured now if you want them to make the roster. Because, for example, if you call up a player now who isn't injured and later you want to remove him, you can't do that. So it actually helps you to have that kind of runway at the moment. So let's talk about Jacob Schaffelberg. You can obviously spoke to him earlier tonight as well, and a real special day for someone like Jacob, who are able to make this roster, represent Nova Scotia and the wonderful family that he has. And he's fighting for a battle to be fit here. He's been training alone when he's been here, but he believes that he's going to be ready. That's what he told me. He believes that he'll be ready. But if that isn't the case, then there is still that option, as you alluded to, where they can navigate that over the next 10 days. Other injuries, well, I understand that it's a massive talking point, but let's just go through this for 1 second. The goalkeeper who's going to start for Canada is not injured. Alistair Johnston, the right back, is not injured. He's fighting fit. Moise Bombito said to me this week that he believes that he's going to play against Uzbekistan, and he's going to be ready for the opening day. So how ready he's going to be is another discussion, but he's not injured. Derek Cornelius told me he's going to play, and he's going to be ready for opening day. So, Richie Laryea. So let's talk about Richie Laryea. Jesse Marsh told me today Richie Laryea will absolutely be ready to play on June the 12th. So I think that factored in the fact that Wade didn't play another left back, because he believes Alphonso Davies will be ready to play by the second game. Now, these are all if, buts, and maybes, but that's what they believe at the moment. So I think that's really important. And then when you go through the rest of the side, Stefan Eustáquio and Kone are not injured. Tejan Buchanan's not injured. Neither is Jonathan David or the strikers. And then it just comes down to Ali Ahmed and his fitness back from his hamstring injury. He told us this week that he believes he might be able to play against Ireland. So it is moving in the right direction. A lot of question marks, and only time will tell whether that comes out into a positive. But so far, so good for Canada. And ultimately, I like the squad. It is kind of what we predicted and what we thought it would be. and as you alluded to, question marks. But every team's got question marks right now, and that's why we are talking about it.